Good evening, good evening, everyone. So we start. Yesterday, I gave a demo session and explained the training roadmap, right? So today we'll start with the concepts. Yes, okay. So let me go to the PPT. And like if you have any queries, like please unmute yourself and feel free to stop me anytime. Okay. So I'll be starting with the computer basics today, as we have most of the students are from non-computers background. So I'll start with some Windows shortcuts and some computer basics. Okay. So I would like to start with first computer basics rather than this, right? So I'll do one thing. So I'll start with computer basics students. So the first one is what is an operating system? Can someone define what is an operating system, guys? Guys, I'm starting this. Guys, am I audible? What is an operating system? So can you answer like Bhargavi, what is an operating system? In computers, what is an operating system in computers?
Yes, operating system is help us to operate the system. Request from the services through defined applications it will go into intermediate information from user to application through operating system. Operating system acts as an interface between user and application.
Right, perfect. So operating system is a software which acts as an interface between user and the computer, right? And how so that you can define operating system in that in such a way that like it is a software which acts as an interface between user and computer, right? And what is system? How to check the system configuration? How to check your system configuration? Okay, guys, is everyone clear on this, guys? Those who are from non-computers background, you are clear on this, right? So you can define what is, if someone asks you what is an operating system, you can define that now, right? Guys, please respond. Those, I know I am explaining this for non-computer space. Bharat, and there are many people from non-computers background, right? So can you define now what is an operating system, guys? Please turn on your video, guys. Turn on your camera, please. Right. And next one is what is how to check your system configuration. So can you check your system configuration and drop it in the Zoom chat, like drop the system configuration details in Zoom chat, guys, everyone, please. So first of all, what is meant by system configuration? What is the processor? What is the RAM capacity of your machine, of our machine, right? So can you check the what is your system configuration, and can you please drop a message in Zoom chat, guys, everyone. Guys, those who are already aware of, please please work on that and drop me a message in the Zoom chat. Please share it in the Zoom chat. Please share your system configuration. When I say system configuration, your machine, your laptop or desktop configuration, you should be aware of your system configuration. Okay, everyone should be aware of your system configuration. So someone messaged me that they joined through phone. Okay, so okay, I don't want all these details. Guys, are you able to see my chat window? Guys,
sure.
Speak out. Are you able to see my chat window? See the chat window. Vivek has sent this system configuration. Are you seeing that?
Yes.
Right. Please don't copy paste like that. Please don't copy paste like that. I want your processor configuration and RAM configuration. Okay. I don't want all those details, product ID and all those. Okay. So these are the important data points for system configuration. So your processor and RAM details. and as hard disk or SSD. Right. So if you observe here, like processor is 11th generation Intel, Intel. 1 second, 11th generation Intel i5, right? So sorry, I think Intel R Core TM i5, right? So 1135 G7 at 2.4 gigahertz. This is one of the configuration that was posted in the Zoom chat. One of the participants' configuration. Now observe here. So how do I know that this this is level, this generation, right? So few of you want to buy a laptop, right? So, want to buy a new laptop as well, and I get many queries regarding what is the required configuration and all. So that's the reason I am explaining this case, right? So if you want to buy a new laptop, or if, or else like even though you already have a laptop, you should know your system configuration. So there are multiple ways to check that. Let me show one of the ways. So right click on the taskbar and open task manager. Right click on the bottom taskbar and open task manager, and you can go to performance tab, right? And here you can see your processor configuration, right? So if you select CPU, right? Everyone, can you please open this window, everyone, on your machine? So initially it will be like this case for your information. If you haven't opened task manager anytime till now, it will be like this. Now, if you are on this window, right, click on more details. Is it clear, guys, everyone? Click on more details and go to performance tab. Go to performance tab and select CPU, right? And it will show your system, your processor configuration. It will show the processor details. And on my laptop, this is my laptop configuration is i7 processor. And what is, like this is a 9th generation processor. Okay. So how do you know that generation is? Yes, how do you know that generation is? i7 is the processor model and my processor is the 9th generation processor. Okay. So you observe here, there is, there is one number next to that processor model, isn't it? So this number indicates your generation, the processor generation. Clear, guys?
Yes.
And this is the speed of the processor, 2.6 gigahertz. That is the clock speed of your processor. Okay. And once you go to memory, if you want to check your RAM configuration, RAM capacity, right? Click on memory, and this is the RAM configuration on my machine. You see here, this is the RAM configuration on my machine. Okay. I have 16 GB of RAM installed on my machine, out of which like 11.2 GB is already in use, and available memory is 4.5, 4.5 GB. Clear, guys? And this is the clock speed of the RAM, 2667 megahertz. This is the clock speed of the RAM. So the higher it is, the better the speeder the RAM will process your any program. Clear, guys? Can you please share this? Is everyone clear on this? How to check the configuration, system configuration, guys, now?
Yes.
Right. And those who are having 4 GB RAM, please upgrade if possible. Please upgrade your RAM as soon as possible, because when we are using LoadRunner or JMeter, right? So 4 GB may not be sufficient. So Zoom meeting itself will take some around 600 to 700 MB, as you can see here. So of course now it is taking like around you see here, right? 267 plus 170. Zoom meeting itself is taking this much. And your LoadRunner, and if you install LoadRunner, it will be taking around 1 GB of RAM. Okay. So those who are having only 4 GB of RAM, please upgrade as soon as possible to at least 8 GB. Add 4 GB more. Right? It doesn't cost you much, generally, based on the city where you are located, it will be from 1000 to 1500 only. 4 GB RAM, addition of 4 GB RAM will cost you 1000 to 1500. That is one more reason that I want everyone to know your system configuration. And I ask you to post it in the Zoom chat. Clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
Those who are having 4 GB RAM, please upgrade as soon as possible. Okay. And now come next. next, the next thing I want to explain you is IP address. What is meant by IP address? Right? So can everyone please check the IP address of your machine and ping it in the Zoom chat? Those who are having laptops at handy, and those who joined from laptop, can you please check the IP address of your machine and post it in the Zoom chat, please? And how to check the IP address
Sir
of your
Kishore
machine?
sir, we are getting heavy. Sir Kishore sir.
Yes, please.
Sir, we are getting heavy disturbance. Can you mute all?
Yeah. So those who want to, I have muted everyone, guys. So those who want to speak, so or ask something, please unmute yourself. And for to unmute temporarily, press and hold the space bar on your keyboard. Okay. Can you please try that once? Press and hold the space bar, then you will be temporarily unmuted. Okay. And then release the space bar, then you will go to mute again. Yeah. So I see some people posted the IP address of their machine, right? So Rohit and Siva, Venkat Siva and Monica. How about others, guys? So, okay. So let me, for the sake of non-computers case, so let me quickly show you how to check the IP address, right? So you can open a command prompt in the Windows search box on the bottom left, right? In the bottom left, this is called as Windows search box. So in the bottom left, type CMD and type the command ipconfig. Use this command to check the IP address of your machine. What is that? ipconfig. ipconfig. And if you are connected to Wi-Fi, if you are connected currently to Wi-Fi, right? See, for instance, I am connected to Wi-Fi. Here you can see it over here, right? So I am connected to my Wi-Fi connection, and this would be the IP address of the current IP address of my machine, right? 192.168.0.134, right? I repeated 192.168.0.0 is read as O in IT. Okay, so 192.168.0.134, and this should be read as dot. Please don't read it as point. Okay, read it as dot. And this is the IP address of my machine. So can you please others, can you please check IP address of your machine and post it in the Zoom chat? Please make it fast, guys. And if you are connected to a LAN cable, right? So you will see some IP address over here. Where is that? Ethernet adapter. So if you are connected to LAN cable, okay, so you will see the IP address at this place, guys. Ethernet adapter. Here you will see the IP address. You will not see the numbers over here. You will not see IP number, such kind of information over here, but you will see that information over here. Ethernet, under Ethernet adapter section. Clear, guys? Everyone? Is anyone connected to LAN cable by any chance? Yes, please respond. I just want you to share
No
your
connect.
screen. Anyone?
No, sir.
None of you connected
No.
to LAN cable?
No.
In this laptop, LAN cable connection not available. Actually, Wi-Fi only.
Okay. Okay, that's right. So anyways, you understood, right? So if you are connected to a LAN cable, right, you will see the IP address information under this section, Ethernet adapter. Okay. So let's move to the next one.
Sir, doubt.
Yes.
If I am not at all connected, any network connection means I am not getting any IP number.
You will not be connected to internet. You will not be connected to this meeting, right? If you don't have.
No, I am connected in meeting via mobile and I had laptop. So once I checked without connection means the IP address not at all coming. Media disconnected like that it is showing.
Yeah. Okay. And yes. And one more thing. So this is called as private IP, by the way, right? Whatever IP address I am showing here, this is called as private IP. Okay. If this is private IP, then what is public IP, right? If this is private IP, there should be something called public IP, right? And now what is that public IP? So I mentioned it over here, public IP and private IP. Now how to check the public IP? Okay. And first let me show that, then I'll explain what is the difference between public IP and private IP. Okay. So if you type, open any browser and type what is my IP.com. Can everyone please do this? What is my IP.com? Everyone please go to this website. What is my IP.com? And please post that IP address, guys, everyone. See, you observe here my public IP v4 is there. It is showing some, my machine is showing some IP address, right? 103.140, 231.254, isn't it? So this is called as public IP. Okay. And my IP location shows my where I am located, right? So I am connected to this ISP. What is ISP, guys, by the way? What is meant by ISP?
Internet provider, internet service provider.
Internet service provider. Okay. So if you come across any new term, just Google search it, right? ISP new form, full form. Just Google search ISP full form. Those who are not familiar with this, right? Please, please do a Google search like what is ISP full form. Okay. So the service provider, internet service provider for our internet connection is Zoom Fiber Solutions, and TGIN means Nanakram Goda TGIN. TGIN means what?
Telangana, India.
Telangana, India, right?
Actually, I have a small doubt.
Yes.
Yeah, actually, my IP location is the mismatch. I'm located in Warangal, but it's showing in Jagityala.
Okay. Maybe you are getting internet connection from Jagityala, or from that point, relay point or something.
It's long distance. Warangal
Oh,
and Jagityala,
okay.
long distance. So how can
Okay. Even I am close to high-tech city, but it is showing Nanakram Goda. Okay, we are not bothered about that IP location. So what all we want to know is this public IP. Okay. Let's not bother about that. So what we are, I know you have to know what is meant by public IP and what is private IP. Okay. Now this is the IP address with which my machine is visible to the external world. Okay. Means outside my, okay. First, let me explain what is private IP. Okay. So you see there is a difference between these two, right? Public IP and private IP. If you observe here, so this, I mentioned that this is private IP. Private IP means this is within my network. Suppose there are 2 laptops, 3 laptops, 2 or 3 laptops connected to my Wi-Fi network at home, right? So this machine has IP address as 192.168.134. The other machine, I have office laptop. My office laptop also connected to my Wi-Fi network, and the IP address of that machine is 144. And these IP addresses are within the network, right? But for external world, this is the IP address. This is my IP address 103.140.231.254. Okay, so that's why this is called as public IP. Is this clear, guys? Everyone, like what is the difference between private and public IP? Private IP means within the network. Okay, if you are connected to an office network, right? So let's say you are connected to an office network. You are working from office and you are connected to an office network. So if your machine and your colleague's machine may be having these 3 numbers as common, but only this number varies. This number changes between your machine and IP address and your colleague's IP address if you are connected to an office network. Or else if you are connected to a home network, 2 or 3 machines connected to home network, right? So this last number changes. So this number is within the network, whereas public IP means this is the IP address with which my system is visible to the external world. Clear, guys?
This is clear.
Yes, sir, clear.
The next thing I want to explain you is, guys, these are computer basics that everyone should know. So we all know that KYC means know your client, right? So as that letters are matching, I just gave here know your computer. Okay. So this is something which, which I used it deliberately. For KYC. Okay. So because this KYC, the word KYC is very popular, right? So we have few songs also recently. I recently heard one song also on this, isn't it? Did you hear that song? Guys, hurry with me.
No.
Yes, sir. No,
Okay.
no.
Fine. So let's move on to the next one.
Sir.
So this is about
Yeah.
public IP and private IP. And one more thing. So you have something called IPv4 and IPv6, right? So IPv4 means version 4, IP version 4 and IP version 6. If you observe here, this is IPv4 address. The IP address that we are seeing is IPv4 address. Okay. And above that, there is something called IPv6 address, right? So this is version 6 address. IPv6 version 6 address is this one. So it is a set of, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, actually like a 6 set of numbers. Okay. So basically, let me explain why this IPv4, when we have IPv4, why do we have IPv6? So you remember, like, we initially, like many years back when mobile phones are, we got this SIM concept, right? Mobile phone and SIM concept. So we used to have mobile numbers used to start with number 9, right? Isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Initially, we used to have all our mobile numbers starting with number 9. Now, once all the numbers that are starting with number 9 are exhausted, then we have 8 series and then 7 series and 6 series.
7 series.
Right? In the same way, maybe, like, all these numbers are exhausted, IPv4 address, or, or else public IP actually. So let's say, for example, suppose all these numbers are exhausted. Okay, in IPv4. That is why they introduced IPv6, IP version 6 as the new standard. Just because all the numbers in that series are exhausted, just like our mobile numbers, right? Once all the numbers in the 9 series are exhausted, we got 8 series and then 7 series and then 6 series, isn't it? So IPv6 is the new standard that is introduced recently, right? And now the next one, I already explained public IP and private IP. Then the next one is host name. So host name is nothing but your computer name. Host name is nothing but your computer name. Now, how to check the host name of your machine? Open a command prompt again and simply type host name. And this is my machine name. This is the machine name that was given, right? When I got the operating system installed, right? There is some name given to my machine, and this is the host name. This is nothing but a host name. Okay. Host name is nothing but your computer name. That's it. And you can also check, this configuration and host name. You can also check, by going to right click on this PC and use properties, isn't it? If you right click on this PC, go to desktop, right click on this PC and go to properties, right? You will see all these details like your device name. See, host name is nothing but your device name or your computer name. And this is the processor configuration, isn't it? This is your processor configuration. This is the processor generation and speed of your processor, right? And this is the RAM capacity on my machine. Clear, guys? And this is the operating system. What is that case? Windows 10 Pro is my operating system on my machine. Clear? So you should know all these details. Everyone should know all these details. Should we move to the next one, guys? So we can check all these details over here as well, right? Now coming to port number. Port number I will explain when we start using our, our sample application. So for scripting, so we are going to use few sample applications, 5 to 6 sample applications for scripting. Then I will cover that port number, what is meant by port number. So for now, remember that a computer will have thousands of software ports. This is a software port, not a hardware port. This is a software port. And any computer will have thousands of port numbers. Okay. And each program that is running on your machine will be running on some port number. Okay. For instance, if you have MySQL server running on your machine, it will be running by default. It will use port number as 3306. That is the default port number of MySQL server. Default port number of MySQL server. 3306 is the port number. Okay. So we'll discuss more on the port numbers later on. And now next, you have to know what is this LAN and WAN. I hope everyone knows this. You might have heard these terms, right? LAN stands for local area network and WAN stands for wide area network.
Wide area network.
Local area network means like all the computers connected to a at a location, at a particular location. They are called as that network is called as local area network. Let's say if you are in office and all the computers that connected to a same network at the same location, that is called as a LAN. Okay. And wide area network means, so you may be, offices may not be located, co-located. All the computers may not be co-located, but if a group of computers are connected to same network, right, that is called as wide area network. Let's say, for example, you have TCS in Hyderabad and Bangalore and many other cities. They all will be connected to a WAN, to a wide area network. They will be connected to, if they are connected to same network, but spread across different locations, need not be different cities. It can be different locations, right? So that is called as a wide area network, WAN. Clear?
Yes.
Right.
Yes, yes,
Next
clear.
one is ping
Yes, sir.
command. Right. So the next command that I want to everyone to explain is ping command. Okay. And let me first to show you a ping command, how to use ping command. Simply type here on the command prompt, right? Type ping. Okay. And followed by IP address of, if there is any other computer connected to your network, right? Check the IP address of that machine and simply use this ping command. Okay, I have my office laptop connected to my home network. So let me quickly check what is the current IP address of that machine. Yeah, so the IP address of my other laptop is 192.168.0.188. 192.168.0.188. Right. So ping command is used, like to check whether these two computers are able to communicate with each other or not. Okay. Here it is timed out because, like it is not allowing my office laptop. It is not allowing this laptop to connect to that. That's why you are seeing a request timed out. Because it is an office laptop, guys. Like I am seeing this message. Okay. So it's not allowing connections from other machines even though they are connected to the same network. But if you have two computers in your room, or like if you have two computers connected at your home, you will get a reply. And if they are not office laptops, right? So office machines, so you'll get a reply, like you'll get a reply from that machine. You'll get something like reply received in so and so milliseconds and so on. Right? So ping command is used to check if you are able to communicate with another computer in the same network or not. Okay, clear, guys? And FQDN, I'll explain that later. FQDN stands for fully qualified domain name. So I'll explain that later, when we come across the context, right? And next, firewall. Next thing everyone should know is firewall. So any computer that is connected to internet is protected by something called firewall. Okay, so let me quickly show that. Or in Windows, we call that as Windows Defender Firewall. In the Windows search box, if you type firewall, right, you will get this option, Windows Defender Firewall with advanced security. Can you please open that, everyone? Open this Windows Firewall via Windows Defender. Hold on. So type firewall.cpl. Type here in the Windows search box, type firewall.cpl. CPL stands for control panel. You see here, right? CPL stands for control panel item. Okay. So if you open that firewall window, right? So by it will see, this is my router name, TP-Link or Archer like C60 5G. This is my router name. Okay. And if you go to Windows Defender Firewall on or off, okay. So before that, let me explain what is a firewall. So you can read it over here. See here, guys. Let me highlight that. Yeah. So see here, Windows Defender Firewall can help prevent hackers or malicious software from gaining access to your PC through the internet or a network. So what is the purpose of this firewall, guys? What is a firewall?
It helps to cannot hack from someone.
Right. It protects your computer from when you are connected to internet or a network, right? It helps it protects your system. It protects your computer from hackers and malicious software. Malicious means
Dangerous.
dangerous, right? Malicious means dangerous. Okay. So so you understood now what is meant by firewall, right? By default, you will have this firewall turned on. If you observe here, firewall state is turned on by default. unless until you turn it off, it will be turned on by default. Okay. So if you observe here, if you see this option, turn off Windows Defender Firewall, not recommended, because like if it is turned off, if the firewall is turned off, your system is vulnerable. Okay, someone might attack, any hackers or someone might attack your system, or else like there will be some viruses intruding or into your machine. So if this firewall is turned off, here guys, some programs, some software programs, may be gaining access to your system if this firewall is turned off. Clear guys, everyone? So what is firewall?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
In my PC, it is turned off. How to turn on?
You simply select this radio button. You simply select this radio button, and you know the difference between radio button and a checkbox, right, everyone? So these are called as checkboxes. That square shaped boxes are called checkboxes, and these are radio buttons. These are called as radio button. Okay. And now, what is the difference between a checkbox and a radio button, guys? I hope most of you know that.
A checkbox, so we can select the multiple. Radio
Right.
button, we have to select the only one option.
Right. So if you have radio buttons, you can select only one of them, right? If you select this one, right, this got unselected, isn't it? Whereas checkbox, you can select multiple options. You observe here, right? So as this is a checkbox, as these are checkboxes, I am able to select both of them. But radio button, you can select only one in each section. Understood, guys? If you select this one, the other one got unselected, isn't it? That is the main difference between a radio button and a checkbox. You should know, you should be aware of this, guys, everyone. Right? What is the difference between a radio button and a checkbox? Okay. Everyone clear on this, guys?
Clear.
Yeah. Next one is host file. Host file also I'll explain later once we get a context. I'll do one thing. I'll move all these like to the somewhere to the bottom, those which are not covered currently. Okay. Yeah. Now the next thing I want to cover is like firewall is done, and yeah, command prompt and elevated command prompt. Okay. I just want to explain what is a command prompt and what is an elevated command prompt. So if you type in the Windows search box, if you type CMD, right, like if you observe here, you get a command prompt, right? And if you click open directly, that is a normal command prompt. So the window title will be command prompt. This is called as window title. This is called as window title. The window title for this is command prompt. And this is a normal command prompt. And now what is meant by elevated command prompt? Elevated command prompt means nothing but command prompt with admin privileges. So you cannot execute some commands from this normal command prompt. If you want to execute some commands, you need admin privileges, right? Or elevated command prompt. So how to open that elevated command prompt is you type CMD over here and use this option run as administrator. Now the window title will be something different. Observe here. This is called as administrator command prompt. Okay. Now you know like this is administrator command prompt means it has, you can execute the commands which require admin privileges from this window. From this command prompt, you can execute the commands which require admin privileges. Is it clear, guys? This is called as elevated command prompt or administrator command prompt. Easy to understand and remember, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Right. Next. So move to the next one. So firewall I already explained. Now host file I'll cover it later. Port number also I'll cover it later. And Windows PowerShell I'll cover it later. Okay, let me move. Let me move all these four.
Give any
Example for commands which we which require administrator command prompt.
Yes, sir. Same.
I couldn't recollect at the moment. I'll cover that tomorrow. Or else, let me Google it. command requires administrator privileges. Okay. So this is just 1 second. I'll cover it tomorrow, guys. Okay. So I'll explain that tomorrow. I'll cover that tomorrow. I could not recollect at the moment, so I'll explain that.
Okay, okay, sir.
Next. So additional clocks. So additional clocks also I'll explain that later. So if you let me quickly show you what is meant by additional clocks. Okay. So when you are working in a project, so you got a job and an IT job, and you are working for a US client. Let's say, for example, you are working for a US client or UK client, right? So when you are working with and let's say, for example, your manager is in onsite in US or UK, and if you want at what time you want to check, suppose you want to map the time with your current time zone with the other time zone, EST time zone or UK time zone. So you can add additional clocks like this, whatever you see at the bottom right on my screen, right? On the bottom right of my screen, I have first date followed by local time and then Eastern time and then PST. So these are called as additional clocks. Are you seeing that additional clocks on the bottom right of my screen?
Yes, sir. We can.
Yes, sir.
So I'll show you how to add that later. You can simply click on this and
Yes,
adjust date and time. And there is something called add clocks for different time zones. So if using this window, you can add those additional time, additional clocks on your machine. Or else if you are suppose if any of your friends or relatives are in US or UK, so and if you want to see, like if you want to call them and you are always confused, like what is the time, what is their time now, right? You can simply add these additional clocks on your machine and you can check the time over here. Okay. So instead of calculating, so you can add additional clocks and you can check it over here.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Next.
Yes, sir. I got it.
Remote desktop connection. The next basic computer basic that I want to explain is remote desktop connection. So what is this remote desktop connection? Suppose I want to connect to a remote machine, another machine which is connected to the same network, right? So I can use this remote desktop connection, this Windows feature called remote desktop connection. And how to open that remote desktop connection is just simply type remote over here and the Windows is showing remote desktop connection. And you simply enter the IP address of the other machine. Whatever machine you want to connect, right? Of course, you should be having credentials of that machine. You should be having username and password of that machine. So if you have credentials of that machine, simply enter the IP address of that machine over here and simply click on connect, right? So this is a Windows feature which helps us to connect to a remote machine. This remote desktop connection. Clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
And you can also launch it using MSTSC, a command called MSTSC, and where MSTSC stands for Microsoft Terminal Services Client. This MSTSC stands for Microsoft Terminal Services Client. It will also show you this remote desktop connection only, the same window. You will get the same window by using MSTSC command also. Okay. And the Windows shortcuts. So I want everyone to be familiar with a few of these Windows shortcuts. Suppose you want to switch between from one window to see, observe here I have JMeter opened on my machine and command prompt opened on my machine, right? Suppose if I want to switch to command prompt, okay, without using mouse, right? So without using mouse, I want to switch to the command prompt. So I can use this shortcut called Alt Tab, isn't it? So can you please use that Alt Tab, guys, everyone? Press Alt Tab on your machine. Those who are from non-computers background, can you please try this once? Right, I want to switch to this command prompt, so I can use Alt Tab and I can select that. When the moment I click on Alt Tab, right, so it will show all the open windows, isn't it? It's showing all the open windows. Now you select, like this, right? So you select whatever window you want to switch. Let's say, for example, I want to switch to JMeter without using mouse. So select that and release the keys on your keyboard, right? And you will switch to that window. Again, if you want to switch to the browser, again use Alt Tab, right? And select. Now Chrome is selected. If you observe here, this is highlighted, right? Now release the keys on your keyboard and you will switch to Chrome, right? So one very important and very useful shortcut in Windows operating system, which is Alt tab to switch between open windows. Okay, so in Windows operating system, we call all these as windows, right? So if you see here, this is Notepad++, this is one window, and Firefox, this is one window, right? So to switch between open windows or programs, we can use Alt tab. And if, right, is it clear, guys? Everyone, please use it, and please start using this shortcut if you are not still using it. Please remember, in like when you are keeping experience, right? So you should be familiar with these shortcuts. If you are using mouse for everything, so you are, your colleagues will suspect you. Okay, that your experience may not be genuine if you are using heavily, if you are relying heavily on the mouse. Okay, so you should be familiar with these minimum Windows shortcuts, guys. And suppose if you want to see the desktop, so you can simply use Windows key on your keyboard and Windows D, Windows plus D. That will take you to desktop directly. See, there are a lot of programs open here, right? So instead of minimizing everything, right? So what you can simply do is you can simply use Windows D for desktop. Clear, guys? Please practice it now. Those who are not familiar with this, please practice these shortcuts, guys. And next shortcut is Windows E. Windows, yeah. Any queries?
Oh, Windows M will be also same, no, sir, as like desktop.
Windows 10.
M, sir, Windows plus M.
Windows M. Okay, yes. Windows M is similar to Windows, working similar to Windows 10. Yes. Right. Next one is, next shortcut is Windows E. So Windows E is for Windows Explorer or File Explorer. It will open File Explorer, wherein you see all these, you see the window like this, right? You see your drives and folders on different folders on your machine, right? So Windows E for Windows Explorer, or it will launch File Explorer. Right? Windows E stands for Windows Explorer. And the next one is F11. Suppose F11 is the purpose of F11 shortcut is to maximize the windows. Suppose, like, see, I am in Chrome now. So let's say, for example, you are seeing a PDF document and you don't want to see all these tabs, different tabs, right? Or else you want to see the full window. So how can you do that is use F11 on your keyboard. And now see here, this window is maximized, isn't it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We observed.
Right? So press it again and it will revert back to normal. Okay. So F11 is for maximizing windows. And Control C, Control X, Control V, you all know that. Most of you, everyone know that. I believe everyone knows that. Right? Next feature I want everyone to start using is quick access. Suppose, there is one frequently visited folder. Okay. Let's say, for example, there is some frequently visited folder. So in my, let's say, G drive, in my G drive, I have some, JMeter, for example. I have JMeter in this path. Okay. So JMeter 5.5. And I frequently want to visit this. Okay. So every time, instead of opening this, every time, so I open a Windows Explorer or File Explorer. So one way is you go to G drive and tools and go to that folder, right? And go here, right? Come here. Let's say I want to use this very frequently, or else I want to open this JMeter 5.5 very frequently. So you can add that folder to quick access in Windows operating system. Go to home and use this option pin to quick access. Okay, pin to quick access. Now, if you observe here, you see a pin symbol next to that for JMeter 5.5. You should see that somewhere, right? In bin folder, I think this one, right? So now next time, if you want to access that folder, right, you simply go open File Explorer and go to this, click on this bin folder directly. It will take you directly to 5.5 bin folder. Or else, let me add this one actually. I want to add 5.5. Okay, I just want to add 5.5 into quick access. Yeah. Now you see here, right? You see a pin symbol next to that this folder, next to this Apache JMeter 5.5. So every time, next time, if I want to go to that folder, I simply open a Windows Explorer and select this quick access. Right? I directly go into that folder. Okay. So these are few Windows shortcuts I want everyone to be familiar with and start using if you are not yet using. And apart from this, like we will be using Zoom meeting for the next 2 to 3 months throughout the training, right? If someone is joining complete course, so you will be like we will be using Zoom meeting for almost like 2 to 3 months, right? So I thought of introducing some, making you familiar with some Zoom meeting shortcuts. So Alt is for mute or unmute. So Alt means, what is the meaning of Alt, guys? Okay, first let me explain this. A
Alter.
for audio, A for audio,
Alt.
right? E for video. And Alt, what is the meaning of Alt? Alter.
Alter.
Alter. Alter means change, right?
Change.
Yeah,
So
it's like
suppose if you
alternative.
want to mute or unmute, right? So you can use Alt A on go to Zoom meeting and simply use the shortcut Alt A. Suppose you want to unmute, right? So you say you go to the Zoom meeting window and you can use the shortcut Alt A instead of using mouse. So in the same way, suppose if you want to turn on the video, you can use Alt V, turn on or off. So it will actually act as a toggle switch, on and off switch. Okay. Suppose you want to turn on your video, you can simply use Alt V. And if you want to turn off also, you can again use Alt V. Okay. And space bar is to temporarily unmute. So if you want to temporarily unmute for a few seconds, you can press and hold the space bar. Press and hold the space bar to temporarily unmute yourself when you are in a meeting, right? This shortcut works with not only Zoom meeting, but it will work with almost most of the other this conference meeting tools, right? And Alt H is for chat window, to open chat window. And if you want to share your screen, use Alt S. These are shortcut for Alt S. So these are the shortcuts, Windows shortcuts and Zoom meeting shortcuts that I want everyone to be familiar with and start using them. Okay. So apart from this, I'll be covering these host file and port numbers and Windows PowerShell as and when we get a context. The next thing I want everyone to be familiar with is Excel training and Word basics. Okay. You need not be an expert in those, but every software engineer, this is required not only for test engineer, but even a developer or someone who is working in IT world, everyone will be using this Word and Excel predominantly, right? So you type WinWord and you will be able to launch MS Word or Microsoft Word, isn't it? So if you go, once you launch this, right, go to help and you have an option called show training. So there are some short videos on the on Word. You observe here Word for Windows training. There are some short videos, quick videos, which will help you to be familiar with, to learn these Windows, this Word basics and Excel basics. Let me show you for Excel also. Once you launch Excel app, right? So you go to help, open a blank workbook, go to help and the training. There is an option called show training. Again, you will have some short videos on Excel, quick start and what is row, what is column, what is cell, and how to operate those, and right, how to identify each cell, formulas and functions, formatting, right? The first 10 days, you will not be having any assignments till I start the tool. So meanwhile, you please become familiar, learn these Excel basics and Word basics, because we'll be using this, every software engineer will be using Excel and Word in their throughout their career, and PPT or PowerPoint also, of course, right? But PowerPoint not required at the moment, but please, everyone please go through these tutorials and learn some basics. You need not be an expert. But you should have a basic knowledge on these two tools, right? And the next one is static IP and dynamic IP. So static IP and dynamic IP means, see, let's say for example, by default, we will get a dynamic IP. We'll get a dynamic IP. Means our machine, our public IP will be dynamic IP. It will be changing. But if you want static IP, you have to get it from your internet service provider. There will be some additional fees for that. But no, you don't require to get that done. But just understand that the IP address of the machine changes from time to time. Okay, that's it. So you need not get a static IP. So understand that you will have the IP address of your machine will be dynamic. And I will cover this FQDN, VPN, and WinSCP, PuTTY, and these are two tools. And environment variables. What is this environment variables and all? as and when we get we come across that context. I'll stop it here, guys, for today. I'll take a pause here. Any queries before we? So we are done with these Windows shortcuts. Computer basics. Okay. So tomorrow I'll be starting with software development lifecycle. So our actual concept starts tomorrow. So this is purely for non-computers guys, and also for computers guys also, those who are, I just want to brush up those concepts before we start our actual training. All right. So I'll take a pause here. Any queries before we close the session for today?